Have you ever wondered why some people are so quick to want to punish those that they feel are immoral? I wonder if sometimes it's the fear of punishment themselves that keeps them from doing things that are immoral. The reason I say this is that I've noticed in a number of, especially in religious community, religious organizations, what have you, that there's a tendency toward wanting to strip people of their position or to punish them in some way, making them not just make a statement about how sorry they are that they did whatever it is that they've accused of doing, but also to strip them of whatever post they had, whether they're in a leadership role or whether they're just, in charge of whatever they're in charge of, they have to give it up as a form of discipline. Now, that's problematic for me on two grounds. First and foremost, Jesus did not do that. And secondly, the point of discipline is to get people to a point of repentance, not to punish them after they've already repented. Now, let's look at Jesus. You remember the story when the crowd brought him a woman who was caught in adultery, and they were testing him. They're like, the law says that a woman like this ought to be stoned. And Jesus bent down and wrote with his finger in the dirt. He didn't say anything to the crowd. He just started writing on the dirt. And while he was doing this, one by one, the men who had brought this woman in to be punished began to leave. The oldest ones first. And I've heard it said that's because that it's generally the older men that are more aware of their own sins, because Jesus said that him who is without sin cast the first stone. And as you think about your life, you realize, I'm not really in a position to say I am without sin. There are things that I'm guilty of that would probably disqualify me from sitting in judgment over somebody else. By the time it was over, there were no accusers left, and Jesus looked at the woman and said, "Does no one accuse you?" And she said, "No, they've all left." And he told her, quite simply, "Well, neither do I condemn you. Go and don't sin anymore." He didn't want her punished. He didn't want her made an example of. He wanted her to change her life. He wanted her to choose righteousness, not for fear of being cast into hell, not for trying to earn favor with the Almighty, but out of that response to forgiveness, the love that she naturally felt having been forgiven. You don't see that. There's a sample, a new case, a girl, 18-year-old girl, who got pregnant, and she was going to a Christian school. This happened in Maryland, and it's in the news stories today. She was denied access to graduation. They would not let her participate because she was immoral. I mean, the school administrator made the point she's not being punished for being pregnant. She obviously broke the rule about abstinence, and she's being punished for being immoral. How does that help the pro-life cause in any way, shape, or form? It doesn't. In fact, it brings shame on pro-lifers because it reinforces what so many people think, that there's a double standard out there of not wanting babies to die, but at the same time then punishing the people who keep their babies. Look, I don't know what the girl's circumstances were that led her to get pregnant. I'm not in a place to speak into her life. I don't know her. That's something between her and her family. I mean, whatever mess that she made, she's going to have to clean up. And you know what? If you make a mess in your life, it's your responsibility to clean it up. It's not my responsibility. It's not my responsibility to punish you for whatever it is whatever mess that you made. I guess my point today is that people who are truly pro-life, who really want to see babies saved, should make it easy for girls to keep their babies. This girl said that in light of the reaction that she got, she wondered, maybe it would have been better to just get an abortion, because then they would have forgiven her and she would have been able to move on with her life. Something to consider. Send me an email. If you've got a question you'd like to engage in a recorded conversation with me, I'd love to put it on my podcast. Send me an email with your question or topic, and I will call you back, and we'll do a podcast together. Steve@radiofreespeech.com.